I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker. I said to Ryan, I said, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. Who is this guy? How did the most optimistic, hopeful character in the galaxy turn into this hermit who says it's time for the Jedi to end? I read that and I said, what? It's not my story anymore. It's somebody else's story. And Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. A real, sort of a back and forth with Ryan. I said, Ryan, a Jedi doesn't give up.
I remember you saying that,
A Jedi, if he does something wrong, he makes it right. Even if he's traumatized and goes away, he regroup within, 6 months, but 20, 30 years? Come on, that's a little bit overindulgent. But it's better to surprise people. And it's getting harder and harder to find ways to surprise them because they've seen so much and they expect so much. So again, I think I'm wrong as the misgivings that I have were set aside because I trust Ryan so deeply, and he's just, I don't think I could have done it without him.
Tell your sister you were right.
All right, you guys. So today we're going to discuss the portrayal of the Luke Skywalker character in The Last Jedi. Now, guys, remember, there is no right or wrong opinion. We don't all see things the same way. What's important to me may not be important to you. So let's keep the discussion civil and just have fun talking Star Wars, all right? This is going to be in regards to the hashtag #NotMyLuke thing that's going on right now. I'm sure you guys heard of it. I'm sure you guys seen the arguments. You may have gotten into a discussion about it yourselves. I don't know. But I thought it was real interesting. I actually have been in a few debates myself in regards to this. If you don't know, I am among the fans who am not particularly happy about the way that the Luke Skywalker character has been portrayed in this film. So I wanted to talk about that here today and discuss that, guys. So this is what we are going to do here today. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of the videos. I know one of the YouTubers, I think his name is Jar Jar Abrams, has several videos out depicting a lot of Mark Hamill's comments in regards to his character and how he didn't approve of the character, and he was very surprised on how Rian Johnson thought of his character. So we all know that Mark Hamill has been very vocal in how the character has been portrayed and how he's not really in agreement with how this character has been portrayed. So just to set everything up here, guys, the last time we saw Luke, he was attempting to bring his father back from the light, which he did. So we have this character who is the very embodiment of hope, even when hope is lost. So now 30 years later, we have Jedi Master Luke with his school of Jedi. So he's teaching Jedi philosophy and upholding the Jedi standards. So we fast forward to Luke's brief moment of weakness where he senses darkness in Kylo. He reaches for his blade, but then realizes that what he is doing is wrong. But before he can put his blade away, Kylo wakes up, hits his master with a force push, and proceeds to destroy the temple, takes a couple of his students, and we all know the story if you've seen this movie. And now that we've set that up, I'm going to give my reasons why I feel as though Luke would not have made this particular choice. So, reason number one, Jedi train and meditate daily not to be driven by their fear and emotion. So why would this Jedi master fall so easily to the very thing that he's trained himself not to do? So for me, it's very hard to believe that Luke, being a Jedi master, teaching other Jedi the way of the Jedi, that he would be susceptible to this brief moment of weakness. However, as I've heard and had rebuttals back to that statement saying, well, he's human. He is susceptible to being weak. And I get that. But this isn't just some ordinary guy who is driven by his emotions. This is a Jedi who is trained to control his emotions and not be guided by his emotions. So why would he now all of a sudden abandon that just because he senses darkness in Kylo? Which leads me to my second reason why I do not believe that Luke would have behaved in this manner. If we are to believe that Kylo Ren struggled between the light and dark in The Force Awakens, well then surely Kylo still had light in him when Luke sensed the darkness. Why would Luke kill his nephew if he still had light in him? So again, if we go back to Return of the Jedi, the Luke that we know, who believed that his father still had good in him and would not destroy or kill his father, now 30 years later, this man would take that same philosophy and abandon it, just throw it out the window, because he sensed darkness in his nephew, who also still has light in him, again, if we are to believe what we saw in The Force Awakens. So, to me, there's a contradiction there. It doesn't make sense. I don't believe that Luke would have been driven by his fear to even think about grabbing his saber if he sensed any inkling of light in Kylo, because this is the same man who would not destroy his father because he sensed that there was still light and good in him. It contradicts what the character believes in. It contradicts the character's integrity. So the rebuttal that I've heard with this is that people change. It's been over 30 years and people change. And that you would be absolutely correct in saying so. People do change. But do people go from being a person who believes in hope even when all hope is lost to go to a person who is going to murder someone who is sleeping, let alone his nephew, his sister's son? Are you kidding me? People don't change like that. They don't go from that one extreme to the other in 30 years. My third reason on why I do not believe Luke would have made this type of decision, or my third problem with Luke making this type of decision, is the fact that if you take the lessons that Luke learned in the cave on Dagobah, when Luke asked Yoda what is in the cave, Yoda responded with, "Only what you take with you." Luke then straps on his belt and weapon, including his saber. Yoda responds, "Your weapons, you will not need them." But Luke proceeds into the cave with his weapon, introducing violence and conflict into the situation. Very important and key thing right there. Now, as we all know, the end result is Luke's self-image in his father Darth Vader's helmet in the cave on Dagobah. Now, the meaning of this is you will become the very thing you are attempting to destroy if you take this destructive path. So, we flash back to the scene with Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker. Seemingly the same test as the cave on Dagobah. Why would Luke abandon that same lesson and murder his sleeping nephew? That is a direct path to the dark side. Now, as a rebuttal, I've had people say to me, well, when Luke saw Kylo's future, all he saw was the bad and destruction he would cause. So in that moment, Luke's only thought was to kill Kylo to prevent what he saw in his future. Okay, I'm not mad at that, but this is my rebuttal to that. Well, even Yoda could not see the future clearly. Always in motion, the future is. Remember, guys? So, how could Luke know if what he saw in Kylo, the darkness that he saw, was a certain future? He would not have known that unless the writers took liberties with the Force and gave Luke powers that surpass Yoda in regards to seeing the future. That would be the only way you could explain how Luke would know for certain what Kylo's future is and what he would do. Remember, in Empire Strikes Back, Yoda doesn't know if his friends are going to die or not. When Luke asks Yoda if his friends are going to die, he can't see that. So how is it that Luke can see so clearly into Kylo's future that he just knows that he's all bad, that he's just got to strike it, just light up his lightsaber and then say, oh, wait a minute, maybe he isn't all bad. So that's my rebuttal to that. Now, here's another argument that I've heard as well, and this is actually a pretty decent argument. Now, if you go back to Revenge of the Sith and Mace Windu's confrontation with Palpatine, where Mace says he's too dangerous to be left alive. Well, again, my rebuttal to that is, if you look at the beginning of the scene, Mace isn't there to kill Palpatine, he is there to arrest him. Palpatine resists arrest and proceeds to start attacking and killing the Jedi, right? Which gives Mace Windu no choice but to say to himself, this guy is too dangerous to live. And also, if you think about it in this sense as well, if he was sensing Palpatine, he didn't sense any light whatsoever. He didn't see any redemption in Palpatine whatsoever. He probably sensed that this guy is all bad and he's not going to stop unless he is taken out. And that is why Mace Windu took that particular path to destroy the Sith, because this guy, the light had been fully driven from Palpatine. So it would make sense that Mace Windu would come to that conclusion, because there is no light in Palpatine, as we all know. He is fully corrupted. So it would make sense that he would make that decision. Where if you go back to Kylo Ren, and again, if we look back at The Force Awakens, where Kylo Ren is struggling with the light, we can safely assume that at the moment where Luke Skywalker had his weakness, he should have sensed some light in Kylo, where Luke would not have had that thought to kill his nephew, because he would have still sensed some light in him. There is still good in him. So why would he just haul off and try to kill him in his sleep? I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to tell them not to like this movie. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying, this is my opinion on how I believe that the Luke Skywalker would have behaved. Very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And from the Father to the Son to the Luke Skywalker Force Ghost. May the Force be with you always.